Did you know that Coca-Cola is older than the Eiffel Tower? The past is often stranger than we could possibly imagine, studded with surprising coincidences that are difficult to believe. In ancient Egypt, the New Year celebration was called Wepet Renpet. Wepet Renpet directly translates to the opener of the year. Unlike the New Year's holiday we know, which happens on January 1st every year, Wepet Renpet was different from year to year. It took place during the annual flooding of the Nile River, which usually happened in July. The ancient Egyptians tracked Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, to determine when Wepet Renpet would happen. After they couldn't see Sirius for 70 days, they knew that the flood and the holiday would arrive soon. The Taina Easter Island is home to 887 giant head statues. Easter Island, also known as Rapa Nui, is only 14 miles long, but somehow it fits almost 900 giant volcanic rock statues called moai. These statues weigh an average of 28,000 pounds. Scientists believe that these statues were dragged around on handmade sleds and carved 2,000 years ago. The funniest part is that nobody is sure what purpose the statues served, but they sure are cool to look at. The Leaning Tower of Pisa never stood up straight. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is a landmark and favored tourist spot for one main reason. It leans over 4 degrees to the side. You might think that it moved over time, but it's actually been tilted from the beginning, when the 3rd floor was originally added. No one could figure out why it was doing that, so they just let it be. Scientists did eventually determine that the reason that the tower leans is because it is built on soft clay. Rats killed over 75 million Europeans in the Middle Ages. Okay, so it wasn't exactly a swarm of hungry killer rats, but rats were still the cause of the Black Death, or the bubonic plague, which wiped out over 1/3 of Europe's population. What happened was that the disease spread from fleas to rats, back to fleas, and then to humans. The bubonic plague actually still exists today, but thankfully, now doctors know how to stop it from spreading. In the Roman Empire, gladiator blood was used to treat epilepsy. After a gladiator died in the arena, their blood and liver became valuable medical commodities. Pliny the Elder, a Roman author who lived in the 1st century, wrote that the blood of gladiators is drunk by epileptics as though it were the draught of life. Charles Dickens and Arthur Conan Doyle were both in the same paranormal investigation society called the Ghost Club. Charles Dickens, despite writing one of the most famous ghost stories of all time, did not actually believe in ghosts. Arthur Conan Doyle, however, absolutely believed in ghosts, and at one point, fairies. The Ghost Club, founded by Cambridge academics, sought to explore claims of supernatural encounters. The members were often skeptical, challenging claims made by mediums. However, after Dickens' death, the club became less and less skeptical and more spiritual. Mummies used to smell really nice. Scientists recreated the embalming fluids used to preserve mummies in ancient Egypt, and apparently it smelled amazing. Archaeologist Barbara Hutton said, "The dominant aroma is definitely a woody kind of pine-like scent, but it also has a hint of bitumen, a little bit of beeswax, something sweet, and you might even be able to pick up a fresh, citrusy note of pistachio. So it's a very pleasant smell." Now let's finally talk about weird and fascinating coincidences. A meteor hit the Comet family's home. National Geographic reports that your odds of being killed by a meteor are 1 in 1,600,000. So the odds would seem infinitesimally small that a meteor, which had been flying through space for more than 4.5 billion years without hitting a target, would hit the home of a family with the last name Comet. According to Time, in a bizarre case of cosmic synchronicity, that is exactly what happened to one family in France. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and the Comets are now the proud owners of their own extremely rare extraterrestrial rock. Two sets of twins who were separated at birth found each other. The story began when a colleague of Jorge, one of the twins, had a chance encounter with his biological twin, William, in the butcher shop where William worked. The colleague was shocked by William's incredible likeness to Jorge and told him what she'd seen. When she showed Jorge a picture of the man in the butcher shop, they pulled up his Facebook page only to discover that he was in many pictures with someone that looked just like Jorge's own brother, Carlos. The two sets of twins eventually met one another and remain in touch today. A father found his long-lost daughter in the background of his photo. According to the Daily Mail, Michael Dick and his estranged daughter, Lisa, hadn't seen each other in over 10 years when he began searching for her again. Michael and his then-wife had separated, and Lisa and her mother moved away to Suffolk, England. In the hopes that Lisa would see it and contact him, Michael reached out to a newspaper and requested that they publish a current picture of him and his other two daughters. Not only did Lisa see the picture, she realized that she and her mother were actually standing in the distant background of it. Her father had been totally unaware that she was just yards away when the photographer snapped the shot. Anne Parrish bought herself the same copy of a book she owned as a child. In 1929, the novelist Anne Parrish was ambling along the Seine and stopped at a bookstall to browse titles. One of her old favorites, Jack Frost and Other Stories, caught her attention, so she bought the copy for 1 franc. She then met her husband, who was sitting at a nearby cafe, and showed him the copy. His jaw dropped when he saw what was written inside, her name and address. The copy had been hers when she was a child. Xu Weifang saved a drowning father and son 30 years apart. It would have been an incredible story without the coincidence. 80-year-old Xu Weifang of Jiangsu province. China saved an 8-year-old boy from drowning, despite his advanced age and recent injuries. The events took an odd turn when Xu discovered that 30 years prior, he had actually saved the boy's father from drowning as well. With those odds, it's clear why some people believe in guardian angels. The Simpsons predicted Donald Trump's presidency. Simpsons TV shows predicted the future. It's not the only accurate prediction to come out of the Simpsons writers' room, but it sure is the most extraordinary. In 2000, the show ran an episode that saw Donald Trump as president. While some may argue that the show's predictions can be explained, let's also keep in mind that pundits, pollsters, most of the American population, and even Donald Trump himself were all astounded by Trump's win. Whether writers for The Simpsons have a fortune teller on speed dial or are uniquely in tune with the pulse of the American people, this was a pretty remarkable prediction, unless, of course, the cartoon gave him the idea to run. Musical neighbors. If not for the 200-year difference, Jimi Hendrix and George Handel would have been neighbors. They lived at 23 and 25 Brook Street, respectively, in London. For more interesting facts, subscribe to our channel and see you soon.